In times where you might need a dispenser here or to experience tranquility, we all need a little support. Hey folks, MasakoX here. When it comes to Dragon Ball, especially the first series where power levels were only just getting in the triple figures instead of getting into the billions, and where key attacks were the icing on the cake in terms of a good fracas instead of just being the norm, we always had the idea of good teamwork. We had the likes of Krillin, Bulma, Roshi, Chaozu, and even Yajirobe, to name a few, that aided Goku on his journey to save the world and gather the Dragon Balls and just to have a jolly good time. In short, you really need to have a well-structured team in order for your goal in Dragon Ball to be reached. And yes, that has gotten a little blurry in recent series, and years as well, but it is still in there, somewhere. Too often in Dragon Ball, especially in Z, Super and GT, the focus would tend to be turned towards the big guns. The ones that finish the job and get the W on the enemy. I mean, yeah, it's mostly Goku, but it's not also helped that we as an audience seem to just remember the victory at first musing. Yes, I know that you folks know more about the journey to the endpoint, but the first recollection for the vast majority is paramount sometimes, and that is mainly just the person who actually gets the win in the first place. But pretty often we forget that our favourite series has also different types of heroes. Heroes who help in different ways, and no, I'm not talking about heroes that sell little pieces of card. We are not talking about heroes that do what Goku does alone. We are bringing up the people who don't just do that, but make up the whole widget of what makes Dragon Ball what it is. Those who help in their own way, and what makes them unique. Without them, Dragon Ball would be nothing like we got, hence why the title is the way it is. Now, okay, while some of these people can still be pretty good martial artists themselves, like Krillin, where they really excel and where they can truly show their A-game in the series are the situations that might be less flashy than, oh, let's say beating the main baddie with a spectacular flourish that is remembered for decades to come and is the signature piece of the series in key visuals. When you look back at how you got to where you were in that story, they're still important in the long run, like Vegeta helping Gohan in the Cell Saga. Oh, Krillin saving Android 18 and having a family. A key portion of the narrative would be gone if you didn't have any of those events. Today we will talk about the importance of supports in the world of Dragon Ball through different categories. So, who exactly do we consider a support character? It's not just the traditional moniker of a supporting character, as in who isn't a main character. They are just the minor players here. Some of these we will discuss are major minor characters that are critical to Goku's development. If they weren't there, you remember my what if Goku never met Bulma thing back in the day? You basically get that. If we had taken only healers into consideration, the list for this video would be pretty short. There is more to being a support character than just fixing up people with scuffs and bruises and whatnot. So in order to make this compilation a little more detailed and a little bit more intriguing, we can add certain features to the criteria, like, oh, being crafty, providing the dragon team with useful items. You can even throw knowledge in there, or maybe providing a helpful distraction, as it would have been unfair to forget about that little tidbit. We will then choose the ultimate support character of Dragon Ball. So, let's start with a simple one. Healers. Ah yes, the most basic form of support. Something that you tend to associate the most with the role of a support. And okay, there is more to the role than just being the healer in your party. Your main characters that are known to heal effectively under their own steam are the likes of Dende, Majin Buu, and Kibito. We don't include Whis in this role because he's more than the support character, and it's a little unfair, not to mention there is far more to Whis' character than just healing. On first glance, Majin Buu's ability is absolutely unmatched, without peer, second to none with anyone else on this list. His trusty healing power, known as the Mend Beam ability, is pretty epic. This beam is so good, it is able to heal someone from the brink of death instantly, or as close to instantly as makes no odds. But Buu is Buu. He's not exactly the most proactive character here. He doesn't utilize this power often. In fact, I think maybe just you can count it on one hand, or maybe a couple of fingers. Sure, he helps Mr. Satan and Bee, his closest friends, as well as giving little Tommy his sight back, but at the end of the day, it's been a long time since we've actually seen him do it. Also, the pink blob is really unreliable due to his sleep schedule. Sure, he has the power, but he isn't awake most of the time to help him actually use it. Then we have Kibito, and the subsequent Potara fusion, Kibito Kai. They too are also capable of using those sorts of powers, but their main usefulness don't only just lie in the realms of healing, as we've seen them do it only on a few occasions. Most of the time it's really just been with getting people out of situations quickly, as well as being a power barometer by basically saying everybody is stronger than Frieza. I think we can all agree here that the true winner here is Dende. Not only has he been tremendous help during the entirety of his screen page time, he was also the most consistent, bringing back wounded characters from the brink of death where no sensu being could help. The only differences between his healing powers and the likes of Boo's are the length of time and the power gap between them. Boo's healing is instant, whereas Dende's takes a little longer. And as we saw in chapter 63 of the Super manga, and this is something I really like, the stronger you are, the longer it takes to get you back on your feet. It's something I think is good to help not break Dende's power. There is some sort of caveat. But regardless of this one, the young Guardian of Earth is a clear victor of this section, but most of you probably seen this coming from a mile away. So let's go to something a bit more challenging this time, and that is the art of a provider support. Sometimes you simply just can't win the fight alone without backup. Sometimes you need a helpful gadget or a magical item to help you on your way. And no, Trunks' sword does not count. That's when you call, well, them really. Those people that will gut you covered when it comes to acquiring additional equipment to fight those pesky bad guys. Yeah, Dragon Ball is best known for its ability to solve issues with fisticuffs and light shows, but without these guys, the situation would feel a little less special and multifaceted. It'd be very basic. The obvious candidate for this role would be the likes of Bulma. After all, she is the second character we see in the show, and her role with Goku is pretty big. Again, what if Goku never met Bulma? You should really watch that. She is the brains of this operation, without question. Her inventions, and by proxy her father's, have been helping the Dragon team for decades. The Dragon Radar, anyone? Turning what would have taken years and pure chance, making it into an afternoon jolly? That's a big deal. And whenever you need to modify an android or stuff a house into a capsule or very quickly a means of transportation, Bulma and the Capture Corp have got you sorted. It's true that she had an unfortunate episode during the Namek saga where she was merely delegated just guarding the base, but hey, if there was one good thing Filler did, it gave her a mech to fight a giant crab, so hey, that was pretty impressive. Arguably, the other provider of note has been Mr. Popo. He allowed our heroes to use the Lookout as a de facto base of operations for big parts of the series later on in Z, including the Cell Saga, and giving them access to the Room of Spirit and Time. And that's something you don't get lightly. Remember, giving our heroes a reliably safe base to rest up on, as well as giving them a place to train quietly and quickly, is equally as important as a nifty gadget. And if you need that, Mr. P has got your back. Just don't break his stuff. The third famous provider would be Yajirobe, and by proxy Korin. Yes, I know, he is lazy and a little bit cowardly, but Raditz was cowardly. But the Bean Daddy might have saved our heroes' lives on more than one occasion. If he was not there, Vegeta would have been victorious over Goku and friends, and things would have been either a lot different from where they were, harder to deal with to try and win against the prince, or completely impossible. At certain parts of the story, their over-reliance on Sensu was pretty substantial, which caused his role to be even more important. Well, choosing a suitable victor for this category of support is very hard, as our heroes have been relying on each one of these facets for their well-being considerably. That's why, if we have to pick a winner, it will be Bulma, tying with Yajirobe. I'm sorry, Mr. P, your training is important, but Bulma was there from the start. And you can't really train properly if you aren't, well, alive. Beans, they're good for you. Then we have the role of second hands. These guys are fighters, but they often focus their techniques on primarily saving others, shielding themselves in the midst of a catastrophe, or giving the main heroes some space to breathe. It's not just about straight up attacking the enemy, there's a lot more to these people than that. In one sense, we can put every non-Saiyan fighter right in this bucket, but some of them have focused more on the defensive capabilities of their powers more than the offensive ones, more than any other. These people have made a strong case for being the best second hand, or okay, second fiddle. First, we have the big one from the Universe Survival arc, and that is Android 17. This guy has an incredibly versatile and powerful shield. He is willing to take it for the team, since he really doesn't have a real sense of drive to be the best, and overall has been very helpful, all by discovering Jiren's weakness. 17 has proven to be a surprisingly good team player in the long run, and while he himself is a force to be reckoned with on his own, his focus to the cause on the team guaranteed the win and his place on this list. Next, we have the good old Quilldog. I don't think we have to say much more for this guy, to be honest. Krillin has been there from a very long time since the start. He has fought many opponents way above his power pay grade, with mixed results, yes, but he was always ready to step in despite that, save someone, take a blast for a different character, and show bravery when he was needed. It's a shame, really, that his legacy has been tinged with the misconception that he is useless. He's not. Krillin is the definition of a second hand, or a good sidekick, and while he has been on the receiving end of quite a few punches himself over his lifetime, the sole reason that he is even able to shrug it off in the first place and then come back keep fighting, despite having a wobble in Super, is enough to never underestimate his fighting capabilities. Another one of these kind of guys is Piccolo. Good old Big Green will help you with his stretchy arms, but will forget to use him himself for a long time. He can also give you new clothes and synergize with your attacks fairly well, with minimal education. He can also stall for time if you need it. And while he does most of these things when you are called Gohan, he has shown time and time again that the others can also count on him where it matters. He is also a pretty powerful and wise fighter himself, which makes him pretty nice help for any newcomer. He's a good all-rounder. Okay, yeah, you guys know who we've chosen to the top of this list. How can it not be Krillin? Yes, 17 was impressive during the tournament arc, and yes, Piccolo has had so many cool moments over the series, but this guy has been there against the odds from the beginning, or as close to beginning as makes no odds, knowing that he could not win, but he still tried to help. His faith in Goku is pretty admirable, but sometimes it can be a bit blind, and some of his techniques can still bite even the most powerful of opponents, if they don't miss. Lastly, we have distractions. Sometimes you have very little going for you in terms of physical strength. That counts for a lot sometimes, but what you can do to try and help the team? Well, that's easy. You distract the enemy, of course. Whether it's resorting to the art of taunting, using your magical powers, or raising the morale of others, you get the idea. Super cheerleaders. They can also be a good distraction themselves. We start off with Chaozu. Recently, our levitating friend has shown us that his sharp tongue can actually be a pretty useful tool against metal men. Remember that chapter in Super? That was a good one. He was also trying his best to fight Nappa, and even trying using his telekinesis on this guy. Not many people remember that, but yeah, the results were still rather grim. The power gap was still big. And still though, Chaozu has his uses, and underestimating them would be a grave mistake in judgment. Next off, we have Jaco. Jaco can be irritating to many, including our friend Sophie B, as his personality is not very noble. He is a stickler for the rules, and also a master when it comes to the idea of shirking hard work. There is a lot of posing as well, and very little substance to all of it. But behind all of that posturing and unpleasant behaviour towards others, there is an insecure being that does care for his comrades in his own unique, special, unclear way, and when it's needed, can provide a much needed distraction. He has proven though he can muster enough bravery to face against Moro, so hey, that's a big plus in our book. Is this a sign perhaps of potential character development for the super elite? Last but not least is Hercule. Another character that is pretty divisive and both hated, hi again Sophie, and loved by the fanbase. His poses range from being outrageous to funny and absolutely painful to watch, but much like with Jaco, Hercule isn't a bad guy. He deeply cares for his new family, and in the end he really truly saves the day from Kid Buu when he helps Goku with the Genki Dama. Not to mention having the most important overarm throw in the history of anime. You know, when he was aiding Android 16 and unlocking Gohan's power and telling him to grow up. As a result of those moments, we think for those reasons, he does deserve to win this category. Yes, he does most of these acts for his own safety, and yes, he has very much gamed the World Martial Arts Tournament for decades to come with the aid of Mr. Buu taking the L many times, but he is able to distract the general public from the Z-Team, which in turn allows them to have mostly peaceful lives without being in the media spotlight, with many people not taking notice of them. And that is something. So which one of these characters is the best support? Well, it's really hard to choose, to be honest. If you remove one of them, it turns out that a lot of the storyline would collapse. You don't really realise that at the moment, but our heavy hitters need them in order to achieve victories, and to us, these guys are all winners. But we need to pick someone so as to not leave you guys wanting. we shall let you decide. I shall conjure up a straw poll. I'll leave a link to it in the pinned comment. Thanks YT for removing that feature. That way we can together choose a king or queen of the Second Fiddle Award, and remind ourselves that while Dragon Ball is about people punching each other in the face, someone has to help them to be in that position to even throw the punches. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll find out who wins by your vote. Catch you later!